Hey book lovers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mar, and today we are back with the photo card mic because it's been a while since I did sort of a reading wrap up of what I read in the past couple months, and so I thought now would be as good as a time as ever to talk about my September and October books, even though it is literally mid-November right now. So sit back, relax, maybe you'll get some book recommendations, or maybe you'll just hear me complain. I'm not gonna lie, my September reading month was not good. I believe I read 3 books, and one of them was a DNF. The first book I read was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. And if you're not familiar with Emily Henry's books by now, if you're in the book space community, you've been living under a rock. She is sort of the it girl author right now. Before this, I had read her latest releases, so Happy Place and Funny Story, and then I decided to read People We Meet on Vacation because the casting had just come out. And so the last 2 books of Emily Henry's I had to read were Book Lovers and Beach Read. So I left Beach Read till last because I've heard that that is a lot of people's favorite Emily Henry book. But and so I decided to read Book Lovers. I rated this a 4.5 stars. I personally enjoyed it. It's not my favorite Emily Henry book. Again, I think my favorite Emily Henry books are Happy Place and Funny Story, and maybe it's just because of like recency bias, and those were the first books of hers I read. But pretty much this one is about this woman named Nora Stevens, and she is this New York City literary agent, and she's very much a girl boss. And she has not had the greatest sort of love life. So, pretty much in this book, she goes to this place called Sunshine Falls, North Carolina, because her sister kind of drags her there. She's like, "Girl, you need a vacation." And while she's there, she runs into this guy named Charlie Lastra, and he is this like very broody book editor who she has never had the most pleasant run ins with. And so you can kind of guess what happens in this book based off of what I've told you. And so for me, I personally I had been hearing around the book space communities again that Emily Henry form has a formula for her books. And I didn't really see the formula until now. Until I read Book Lovers, I was like, okay, I see the formula, and honestly, it's a formula that works for her. And personally, I ate this up. I personally really liked Book Lovers. Again, it's not my favorite Emily Henry book, but I enjoyed reading it. Um, and yeah, that's really all I have to say. The next book I tried to read was From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And like I got the part one of the audiobook by Graphic Audio. I got part one of it on just like Libby, so it was available on my library. And I like decided to listen to it, but I don't know. It was just so boring for me. And maybe it's because I tried to do audio first. Usually, when it comes to graphic audio productions of things, I'm listening to that audiobook just based off of like books that I've already read and all that. So I'm already familiar with the characters, I'm already familiar with the story. I just like let it play out. It's like listening to a podcast, right? Like I just let the audiobook play out. I feel like maybe if I read this book first and then listened to the audiobook, I would have enjoyed it better because there are so many characters in this book that I was kind of just getting lost on who was talking. And also, I just didn't know what was happening in this book. Like, I know that there's something with vampires happening, and like the main girl is like, she's like a princess or something, and she needs to be protected. She like meets this guard. Like, that's the amount of stuff I got out of this audiobook. And so I like tried to listen to the whole thing, couldn't. I DNF'd it, and I was like, and I don't think I'm the biggest fan of the writing either. So I was like, I don't think it's worth it for me to pick up the book right now. Like maybe I'll do it in the future, but and also right now is like not really, I'm not in a really like romantasy mood right now. Um I just, it was not vibing for me at the time, and so um if you like that book series, like please convince me to read it, cuz right now I'm not being convinced. So, yeah. Those are my thoughts on From Blood and Ash. Next thing I read after that, and I think this is the last book I read in September, was Appetite for Innocence by Lucinda Berry. And for me, I'm not like super familiar with all of the popular like thriller authors right now. I'm not really picky when it comes to thrillers. Like, there's never like thrillers that I'm just like, oh, I think I have to read this or anything. Like, it's mostly just like if it's available on Libby, if the audiobook is available on Libby, I'll listen to it. And so like that's really how I read thriller books. So this one was just available on Libby. It sounded interesting, and so I picked it up. I rated a 3.5 stars. And it's mostly due to, okay, first off, there were a lot of topics that were kind of icky to me, and then also, second, the characters were kind of unlikable, which I feel like in a lot of thrillers, that's a very common thing. There's unlikable characters, but pretty much it's about this girl who escapes this serial killer, and pretty much in this like book, it's dual point of view, and her and this other girl are recounting sort of what happened to them, like with this silly serial killer and all of that stuff. And like, I can't say much without spoiling this book, but pretty much they're just trying to uncover like what happened to these girls and how like the girls escaped like this man and all of that. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. It was a really fast paced. Something really weird just happened with my phone. It said like my storage was full, deleted some stuff, and then now it's not full. Sorry. I left off with my review of Appetite for Innocence. Yeah. Overall, like the book. Kind of creepy. Definitely unlikable characters, but overall, it's really fast paced. It's really easy to get into. So, if you just need a quick thriller to read, highly recommend that one. The next book I read was Vilest Things by Chloe Gong, and this is the second book in, what's the series called? It's the one after Immortal Longings. This is her adult fantasy series. It's pretty much about this like Asian inspired city, and pretty much there are these two kingdoms that ended up merging, and the citizens of the cities, some of them have the ability to jump in between like bodies and all of that. So like their sense of self is very different in that like your physical body is very disposable, and like they have something called chi that like they pretty much it's like the energy that's inside them, and using chi they can like jump in between people's bodies. Like that's kind of like the gist of the book. This is the second book in that series, and overall really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. Some people don't like this book series, I've heard, but like for me, I like ate it up. It's again like it's Antony and Cleopatra inspired, because one thing about Miss Chloe Gong is she is going to be inspired by Shakespeare. I really can't say much about this book without spoilers again. So also again, I read this beginning of October. So it's been a while since I picked it up, and I sort of remember what happens, sort of don't. I remember the ending, that's for sure, and that's the one thing I literally cannot share. The next book I read was Deadly Little Scandals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this is the second book in the Debutante series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and the first one is Little White Lies. So it continues the story of what happened in Little White Lies, and pretty much a lot of mystery, a lot of things that need to be discovered and uncovered. And one thing about Jennifer Lynn Barnes, though, is with her books, you are going to want to draw a family tree, especially for this one, because it's kind of insane. Like, I was reading it and I was like, I have lost the plot. I'm like, I'm not mad about it, but I have truly lost the plot of this book. Gave it 4 stars. It was really entertaining. I read this in probably a couple hours. I was just eating it up. So yeah, if you want a really like quick mystery thriller type of book series, highly recommend The Debutantes. The next book I read was The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. And I gave this a 5 stars. This is by Ali Carter. And one thing about me is, like, if you've watched the videos on my channel, I am Ali Carter's #1 fan. I love everything she puts out. And so this 5 stars, like, it was just such a fun book to read. It's pretty much about these two authors that get invited to go to this, like, manor for Christmas. And these two authors are like kind of like enemies. They don't really vibe with each other, you know? And they get to this manor of this like this famous mystery author, and she like hosts them for Christmas and all that, and then all of a sudden this author goes missing, and they have to uncover this mystery, and it's very much like Knives Out inspired. It's such a fun book, and especially for Christmas, like if you are looking for something quick to read for Christmas, this is the book for you. If you love, again, mysteries, thrillers, solving puzzles, like the like enemies to lovers, romance, like this has like everything in it. It's like a rom-com, like Knives Out pretty much. And it's so fun. And like again, this one I was eating up. Again, like the banter is so good, the mystery is so good. I just like I really have no like criticism. I mean, there are some criticisms I have, but like with Ali Carter, I will turn a blind eye. But yeah, 5 star read of the year. Go pick this up. Like, literally go pick this up right now. The next book I read in October was a novel love story by Ashley Poston. And I got this in the summer, I believe, and it was not giving summer vibes when I tried to read it then. But then I picked it up in October, and this literally gives fall vibes. It's pretty much about this woman who ends up accidentally driving into her favorite like fictional town, like this fictional town that is from her favorite book series of all time. And she's sort of just like, how did I get here? Like, what is happening, you know? And then she ends up like meeting this guy there who, you know, she's like, I don't remember you from like the book series or whatever. So, like, this must be like a a character from like this unwritten book this author has and all of that. And so like it's pretty much like it's a really whimsical book and all of that. Like if you're looking for something with like a heavy plot or whatever, this isn't the book for you. But if you're just looking for more of just like uh I wouldn't say coming of age because she's of age. But if you're looking for like more of a very like whimsical like discovery kind of book, I think this would be for you. There is romance in this. Again, it's called a novel love story. I think the biggest strength this book has is like it's pretty much just about this woman who's trying to discover who she is. And you know, she's in like the place of her favorite comfort book characters and all of that. And so like this is just like a really like whimsical and like warm book, and like it feels like a cup of tea. Like that's how I would describe it. Like there were moments in this book that like genuinely were like making me emotional, and I like almost cried reading this book. And it's like not even a sad book. Like I wasn't even crying because it was sad. I was just crying because like there were a lot of quotes in here that like I just really resonated to and like just like cut me deep like for some reason. So yeah, if you're looking for like a very like whimsy sort of warm book, highly recommend this one. Also, I gave it a 4.25 stars. I don't know if I said that. Next book I read was Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. And one thing about Miss Lynn Painter is that she knows how to write like a YA rom-com novel. This one is pretty much about this is the second This is the sequel to her book Better Than the Movies. So it follows the story of the two characters from Better Than the Movie, so Liz Buxbaum and Wes Bennett. And pretty much in this book, they are now at college. They are both at UCLA, and there's a 2 year time jump, I believe. In the 2 year time jump, a lot of stuff happens between these characters. They end up breaking up. Spoiler alert, that's not a spoiler, you know this. But yeah, they end up breaking up. And, now that they're both at UCLA, they're trying to kind of navigate their lives and all that. And pretty much a lot of stuff happens. Again, Better Than the Movies is not my favorite Lynn Painter book. I think The Do-Over is still my favorite Lynn Painter book. But overall, I personally I ate this up. I could not stop reading it. It was just it's like a really easy read for me, I guess. It was just an easy read, and I liked kind of exploring the characters again and getting back into that story. It's just for me. Liz and Wes just aren't my favorite couple. I don't know if that is an unpopular opinion, but a lot of the stuff that happens in that book, I kind of am just I feel like that could have been dealt with in a much better and easier way, but I guess we needed the drama, I guess. But yeah, it's sometimes I think Liz acts a bit too immature, and I think like honestly, I think I was siding with Wes the entire time in this book. So I rated it 4 stars, and those are my thoughts on this book without any spoilers. The next book I read or listened to on, I guess, was Lights Out by Navessa Allen, and I gave that 4 stars. I just needed something to read, and I quick to listen to while I was working. I saw this book on Audible, and I was looking at the reviews, and it was getting a lot of traction in reviews. So I was okay, it's a dark romance, of course. It's has morally gray characters. I thought it would be a lot like Butcher and Blackbird, but it was very different. If you're gonna listen or read that book, just search up trigger warnings. Again, there's a lot of content in this book that is very dark and morally gray and sort of icky. I actually had a good time listening to it. I did think it kind of got it started losing the plot near the end. Not near the end, but I guess near the end, there's it just went in a direction. When it got halfway through, it kind of went in a direction where I was kind of just what is happening in this book right now? But other than that, I liked it. There's a lot of smut. Not gonna lie. Also, the male main character, again, morally gray, but he's funny. At least he's funny. His internal dialogue kind of is just really funny. He's morally gray, but he's also very self-aware of his actions and all that. But at least he's funny. And my favorite audiobook narrator, Zachary Weber, he does the audiobook for this, and it's he does it so well. He's so good at what he does. The next book I read was Some Shall Break by Ellie Marney. And this is the second book. Again, I'm reading a lot of sequels. I read a lot of sequels this fall. But this is the sequel to the book None Shall Sleep. And this book series is about these teenagers that get recruited by the FBI in the 80s, I believe. And it's fictional, by the way. They get recruited by the FBI to help them with a case, and then pretty much this case just ends up spiraling into more. And so this one, there's a new killer, but the MO is the same as sort of what they went through in the first book. So they're trying to uncover a lot of the mysteries that happened in the first book that are now continuing into this book, and then there is going to be a third book. So I will be available. I will be sad for the third book. So yeah, but if you like the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, highly recommend this one. Again, if you like reading about mysteries, thrillers, serial killers, highly recommend this book series because it's probably, I wouldn't say it's my favorite one, but it's really entertaining. It is a very entertaining book. And also the characters are like also really entertaining as well. So yeah. But I will say it is multi-point of view, so sometimes like it's easy to get lost. But yeah. I rated this a 4.25 stars. The next book I read was, again, October was like my mystery, thriller, spooky girl season. The next book I read was That's Not My Name by Megan Lally. Don't know how to say her name, but I rated that a 3.75. It's pretty much, it's a dual point of view book. And so it's pretty much about this girl who wakes up on the side of the road and she pretty much has amnesia. She doesn't remember anything. She doesn't know who she is, like where she's from. She genuinely like can't remember like anything about herself. Like she doesn't know anything. And pretty much so in this book, she's trying to figure out who she is. And so a cop finds her on the side of the road and he brings her to the station, and at the station this man walks in and like says that he's her dad, and that they were going to meet up at this cabin, and that like she just didn't show up, and so he was like worried about her and all of that. And pretty much he gets all this evidence, gives all this evidence to the police that is really convincing, and he's like, this is my daughter. And she's just like, well, I can't remember anything, so I must be his daughter. And so she goes with him. And then in the other point of view, it's the perspective of this boy, and he's trying to find his girlfriend who ended up like disappearing a couple weeks ago. He doesn't know what happened to her, and pretty much everyone in this town is pointing fingers at this guy because they think he was the one that killed her, because he was the last person seen with her. Like they automatically assume that this guy's a murderer, and he's just like, I'm not a murderer. Like this girl, like Miss Girl is literally missing, and I'm trying to find her, and I'm the only one trying to do that. And so yeah, so like that's his dual point of view, and pretty much stuff happens, and like these two mysteries kind of interconnect with each other. I can't say too much without spoilers again. So, again, I rated it a 3.75 because a lot of the times it was very predictable, but there was one twist. There was one twist that I did not see coming. They got me. They got me. The other twist I saw coming, but the one twist I was like, I didn't see that one coming. So, yeah. I would think like me binging all of 18 seasons of Criminal Minds would help me become better at thrillers. I mean, I think I'm a little bit better now, but yeah. Overall, it's a really easy read. It's a quick read. It's young adult, so no spice. But yeah, um, those are my thoughts on That's Not My Name. Finally, the last book I read in October was The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood, and this one I gave a 4.25 stars. And pretty much it's about this girl who ends up accidentally dying, and pretty much when she dies, she is sent to this place that is really reminiscent of like The Good Place, like if you've seen the show The Good Place, it's very much like this version of heaven. And pretty much she meets this afterlife counselor there, and like they're talking about her life, and this woman who she's just like, I don't want to die yet. Like, she's like, I didn't mean to die. And so she ends up making this deal where um something happens in this fake good place thing, um in this afterlife, where she ends up making the deal with her counselor that she can go back to earth only if she can get this certain individual to kiss her, and if she does that, she can live freely on earth and all of that. So it is like a love story in a way, but again, it's a lot about self-discovery and all that, friendship, different types of love and all that. And so that's why I gave it a 4.25 stars. Like I had a really fun time reading it. I thought the concept was fun. Again, very reminiscent of The Good Place. The Good Place is one of my favorite shows, and so like it just again reminded me of that. And so, if you're looking for a really quick, easy read, not that I read this one fast, it took me 3 weeks to read this book. Like, that's the realities of being a mood reader, is that like I end up soft DNFing books and then coming back to them like 2, 3 weeks later to finish them. But yeah, if you're looking for a quick and easy romance, though, just don't be like me. Highly recommend this book. Those are the books I read in September and October. Hopefully, maybe you got some recommendations. Maybe if you've read these books, your opinion differs from mine for some of these books, but hey, like, let's talk about it in the comments respectfully. If you want to see the books I'm reading like in real time, highly suggest you follow me on Storygraph or Fable. I'm not a Goodreads user. Don't add me on Goodreads. But Storygraph and Fable, definitely. On Fable, I do more of my like written reviews there, depending on how I feel like it. If I'm like really into a book, I will be posting paragraphs and paragraphs about a specific book. If I don't like a book, I will still be posting paragraphs on paragraphs about books. So go check out my Fable. Links are in the description. I believe both are just my username is just marwithreads, same as my YouTube channel, just no spaces. And yeah, also follow me on Instagram. I really need to do a better job at posting regularly on there. So maybe I'll do a book photo shoot sometime and get all my content done there. Thank you so much for watching this video, listening to me yap, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!